we can begin this meeting. We have a quorum. We have one member that will not be here today, Linda Ritter, but we do not require supermajorities on any of these votes, so we're good to go. Seeing no public, I will still say that the public is invited to make any comments at any time. As far as agenda management is concerned, I think we can take the agenda, unless anyone has any other suggestions, in the order that it is shown originally. So we're now down to D. We have the minutes of February 10th, 2015. Unless there's any suggested modifications, I'll entertain a motion to accept those as prepared.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as accepted, or as written.
And there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item E, we have the annual reports from the municipalities, a statement of debt management policy, plans for capital improvement, and updates of information as required for NRS 350.010. Kathleen, I still understand that there's nothing from the V&T.
That's correct.
Okay.
The Carson Water Sub-Conservancy District did submit theirs, and it's in
Right.
the packet as late material.
Right. Okay. E1 has the late material from the Sub-Conservancy District. They indicate that they do not anticipate needing general obligation debt over the next 5 years, which is fine. They're standard statements. Then we have Carson City. So call on Carson City representative. If you identify yourself and walk us through this with the highlights, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Nancy Paulson, Finance Director for Carson City. I was going to go over some of the information from the debt management policy. If you turn to page 1, and then it goes over to page 2. As of June 30th, 2015, the city has $144,311,917 of general obligation revenue supported debt, $4,248,300 of general obligation medium-term debt outstanding, $17,159,100 of revenue bonds outstanding. These are secured by specific pledged revenues and are not general obligation debt, and $1,037,200 of installment purchase debt. Also, on August 3rd, the city issued $15,410,000 in refunding bonds in order to refinance a portion of our general obligation revenue supported debt, and also $6,170,000 in refunding bonds in order to refinance a portion of the highway revenue bonds. These refundings resulted in debt service savings of approximately $2.3 million. The city currently has no outstanding general obligation debt paid by the levy of a specific property tax. And if you want to go to page 7, the quality of life revenue secured bonds. The city currently has $7,960,000 of outstanding general obligation debt secured by 40% of the city's 0.25% quality of life sales tax. And the next page shows budgeted coverage on that of 1.35. On page 9, the infrastructure sales tax revenue secured bonds. There's currently $13.6 million outstanding, and these are secured by revenues from the 1/8% infrastructure sales tax. And on page 10, the budgeted coverage is 1.8. Then to page 11, the consolidated tax secured bonds. The city currently has $34,135,000 in outstanding bonds, and these are secured by 15% of the distribution from consolidated tax revenues. Then on Page 12, the budgeted coverage is 1.05 times. The next one is room tax revenue secured bonds. There's currently $2,785,000 outstanding, and these are secured by room tax revenues. And the budgeted coverage for fiscal 16 is 3.89. And page 14 are the 1/8% V&T sales tax secured bonds. Currently outstanding is $9,110,000, and the budgeted coverage is 1.06. And now Sherry's going to go over some of the enterprise fund debt.
Hello, Sherry Russell, Deputy Finance Director. Nick usually always did this, so I get a chance to talk. It's kind of exciting for me. So,
She likes to.
so on page 15, the water fund, both outstanding and from what we haven't, it's authorized but not yet issued from the state revolving fund, we have a total of $89,880,012. Which is on the next page, about 1.25% coverage. That rate will still continue to increase for another 2 years, I believe, 6.5%, so our coverage should continue to get better. However, we usually do a worst-case scenario. So in 2022 is our highest expected debt service of $5,405,000. So even with that highest expected debt, we have a coverage of 1.2%. If you go to page 17 on the sewer fund, we have a total, again, the outstanding debt, the expected debt, so there's $12 million that was approved but is not yet issued on state revolving funds, and then the $6 million that we just received in August, I believe. And then there's another $20 million of state revolving set that is approved but not yet issued. So all that included $66,072,786 in total debt. The next page, we have a coverage of around 2%, and again, that revenue is going to increase about 15% over the next couple of years, given the rate increase. So we should continue to be able to afford our debt service. However, worst case scenario, and this one is 2024, which shows about $3.8 million in debt service, and that gives us a 1.3% coverage ratio as of the rates in 16. So that should continue to get a little better.
That $3.8 million includes the bonds that were just issued?
Yes. Stormwater on page 19. Again, there's a little bit of SRF money that we have not drawn down yet. So that's total is $6,666,713 Do you need me to repeat that? Okay. And on page 20, we have about 1.5 to 2% coverage ratio. Worst case scenario in this one being 2023, $568,000 in debt service, and that's about 1.15% coverage. On page 21, we get into the debt margin, the legal debt margin. And J&A prepared this, which was an absolute worst case scenario. So as of June 31st, 2015, if we had all of this debt right then and we had drawn down all of our SRF funding, we would only have $8 million in debt margin available. Absolute worst case. So we did up this sheet for you that we usually prepare for the debt management policy, which gives you more of a each year assessment of it and what we think is going to happen. So the first one is as of 6/30/15 on the first page. We show this is actual drawn from the SRF, actually what we are going to, what our debt margin is going to be. So we've got basically $50 million. On the next page, it takes you through each year at June 30th, 16, 17, and 18. Now, in each year, we've included an increase in assessed valuation. The first year is the highest at about $13 million, and that is actual, because we know Red Book what we're going to bill in assessed value. So that's actually what it is going to increase. And then each year after that, we've only given about a little 4% bump in that. So we've been very conservative for the remainder of the years. And then it includes also the debt service principal payments that we'll pay down each year, which also should free up some debt margin. So you can see by the end of year 5, we're looking very healthy. And it never does dip below 50 million.
So what was your, 13% this year and 4%? So 13% increase this year or next year and 4% each year thereafter?
It's about 13 million increase.
13 million.
Yes,
Excuse me. Okay.
in the 15, which is the 15% assessed value. So it's the 13 million increase in our debt margin
Okay.
next year that we know is going to happen. And then each year after that, we just did a conservative 4%.
Okay.
This includes the city and county, right? The total percentage?
Yeah.
Yes. The last thing I wanted to talk about was page 22, which is the debt comparisons. And I don't know if anybody looked at this, but it looks sort of terrifying. We have about 11.5%, whereas everybody else is under 5, most under 2. However, Carson City is a consolidated municipality. So all the other ones, if you took Reno, Sparks, Incline Village, plus Washoe County's debt, that would equal a much higher percentage of their total assessed value.
That's 5%, correct?
I'm sorry.
The county part it's 10 and 5, is that how it breaks down? I mean, because we're a city county, we have a larger percentage, correct?
Well, we carry all the debt,
Right, okay.
except for the little piece of school debt. Whereas Washoe County, you've got all their school districts have their own debt, Reno, Sparks, yeah. So that's why GADs, yeah, so that's why ours looks so high compared to all the other counties.
Right, and we have a lot more tax exempt properties in town too, so.
You'd have to add the city as Sparks and the city of Reno
Right.
into this.
All the school districts, right.
Remember to push down the little red button.
So the last thing we wanted to go over, we included the capital improvement plan, which is several pages down in your documents. The only thing on that is for the fiscal 16 amounts agree with the capital expenditures budgeted in the city's final fiscal 16 budget. And the fiscal 17 through fiscal 20 are proposed capital expenditures, but they won't necessarily be approved for funding. It's kind of a wish list. Yeah.
Are there any questions of the city on their plan? I would thank you for a very detailed, as usual, report. And it goes without saying that we have a professional staff that is on top of things with us. Carson City Airport, you have E4, which again indicates no planned debt over the next 5 years. We then have the Carson School District, and Catherine, do you have any knowledge of whether anybody from the school district was going to be here to make a presentation?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, again, it was pretty straightforward. Unlike past reports, this was good. Is any?
Our new guy is pretty good. Yeah.
Do you have any?
I don't have anything to add. I think it's outlined very well here.
Okay. And then the last one we have is the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and again, they indicate no planned debt over the next 5 years for the record. So except for the V&T, I think all of the entities that are required to submit reports have, and I will entertain a motion to accept those unless there's any questions.
I just curious, I don't think we had the V&T last year either, did we? Is there a reason why we meet this seldom that we can't get a report? I'm just curious.
According to the Department of Taxation, the V&T is late on several of their filings.
That's what I was mentioning, because I think last year we didn't have theirs either, so.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept all of these reports as presented.
Make a motion to accept all of the reports as presented as required by NRS 350-013, accepting, of course, the missing V&T Railroad report.
Second by Brad. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All righty. Item F is the annual requirement pursuant to 350-0155 to set aside a percentage of limitation on taxes for any emergencies that might come up, and that in the past has been 10%. Is there any desire to change that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to establish that as the requirement for the next year.
We're living within it now, aren't we?
Yeah, we just can't, or the entities can't go above that unless there's some emergency.
I move to approve the specific percentage of limitation on total ad valorem tax levy to 10% as required pursuant to NRS 350.0155.
Okay. A second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And item G, within the same statutory requirement, 350-0155, we establish priorities for among essential and non-essential facilities and services are required. And again, I believe in the past we have had public safety, health, and education as the three priorities in order. And again, any desire to change those priorities? If not, I'll entertain a motion to set those as the priorities for the next year.
I move we retain the same priorities that we had last year, same order.
Second by Brad. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then we have designation for the February meeting. What was the date we had last time? It was like the 16th, wasn't it? About mid-month, middle of the month?
It's usually the second or third Tuesday.
Second
in
or
that
third?
month, yes.
Anybody have a problem with either the 9th or the 16th? Okay, I'll set 16th as the date, unless there's a conflict that comes up. And 1:45, is that okay? All righty. Okay, February 16th at 1:45 is the next meeting. Any commissioner comments? Future
Yeah.
agenda items? Mark?
I don't know what the process is. I kind of chatted with Kathy a little bit yesterday. I've been on this committee for quite some time, since Pete, I think, was early in his second term. And I'm just offering that if Brad or someone, this is how I started as a constituent or somebody that's interested, I would gladly step down, since I'm still doing planning and golf course and everything else. But if you can't find anyone, I will still continue. So it's not a big outlay, but I might be somebody interested that would like to start our serve on this committee.
If there's somebody interested, it probably isn't the committee they're going to start.
Well, that's where I started.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
But, yeah, it's good.
I think that it's up to the individual boards to make the appointments, and I'm not sure what the terms are at this stage, so maybe you could put that on the agenda for the next meeting, just to.
I looked into it, Mr. Chairman, at Mr. Sattler's request, and I can talk with you offline about it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll again ask for any public comment. Seeing none, I will call this meeting to adjournment at 1:05 or 2:05.